Hey everyone, my name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at some I Don't Work Here Lady stories, so sit back, relax and enjoy. You're in the wrong country if you think people are going to do that for you. Here's your important background on me. I'm a British national who has been working in another country for a couple of years. I haven't been at home at all during this time, so this year I saved up all my holiday, okayed it with my bosses, and decided to use it all on coming home from now until the new year. My flight touched down mid-afternoon yesterday at a big international airport. I had opted to hire a car to use since I'm planning a couple of day trips to visit friends who now live across the country. It just so happened that the company I was going with had an empty-to-empty fuel policy. There was just enough fuel in the car to get you to the nearest petrol station, and you didn't have to bring it back with any specific amount of fuel in the tank. This all begins at the petrol station about 5 minutes down the road from the car hire place. I feel like this isn't a surprise to anyone reading, apart from the antagonist of the story, but she appears in a minute. But in the UK, on the whole, we fill up our own petrol tanks. People paid to pump your petrol for you are not a thing. If you go into really rural areas with no other petrol stations for miles around, you might get a hand from one of the member of staff there, but that's it. This is the same in my country of work also. You mostly pay over the counter in the shop connected to the station, but for some of the chain petrol stations, you can pay at the pump itself via a pin machine. Sorry if this is like teaching your grandmother to suck eggs and you know this already. It just so happens that this petrol station in question had the pay at pump option. The queue for paying behind the counter was massive. So I decided when I pulled in to pay at the pump. There was a bit of a wait to get a free pump, and while waiting, I noticed out of my window that a car just turning into the petrol station was a hire car by the same company as mine. At the time, it was just something to spot, but I didn't realize that I would be front and center in their crosshairs. I eventually pull into a space, get out of the car and start filling it up. I finish and reach into my pocket to get my card out to pay when there's a tap on my shoulder. I look across and there's an, I would guess, mid-30s woman standing there looking angry. I should note that I myself am a woman in my late 20s and was wearing the jogging bottoms and university hoodie that I had traveled in, so definitely in no discernible uniform at all. I'll be calling her Shouty American, or SA for short. Finally, someone appears. Can you tell these other cars to move so we can get into this space next? Me, tired because flying is draining and confused. No, they were here before you. But they're not with the car hire company. You are because your car says so. Go get them to move and then get pumping our gas. I'm not employed by anyone. I just hired the car. Also, no one's going to put any petrol in your car other than yourself. At this point, I turned away from her so I could pay, and she did not like that. The shouty American pulling my arm away from the screen. I don't want petrol. The fact that she was trying to make fun of my accent was just odd. I want gas. We were told to fill up here, and if you don't do it, I will drag you to that office and watch as you get fired. Obviously, because she is on the verge of shrieking at me and has created a scene, a member of staff comes over and asks what's happening. I was going to politely explain that the woman just seemed to be a little bit confused over what she's being told by the car hire company, but she gets in there first. This employee of your partner firm car hire company is terrible. She's refusing to pump my gas. The staff member, or SM, to me, do you work for car hire company? No, I just hired the car and needed to fill it up, and now I need to pay. No, she works for them. Look at the stickers on her car. They're the same stickers on every hire car. The staff member to her, Madame, I don't think this lady works for the car hire company. I think we just need to let her move on so she can leave, and we can keep everyone moving. We also don't have any contracts with car hire company to begin with. At this point, there are about 8 cars parked behind the car that she was in. Since the driver hadn't thought to move into one of the now many free spaces next to the pumps, and many more indicating that they wanted to enter the petrol station. But the staff member seemed oblivious to this. I want someone to fill up my car now. I don't care if you fill it up with petrol and not gas. She seemed to have no clue that petrol and gasoline are literally the same thing. You're all lucky that I don't film this and stick it on Facebook so you all get shamed and fired. The staff member getting annoyed as there were people shouting and car horns blaring because of the blockage. You're in the wrong country if you think people are going to do that for you. Please tell the driver of your car to move, or we will have the car towed for an illegal obstruction. I'm pretty sure this isn't a thing, but I sensed the guy was just hedging his bets that Shouty had no clue what the law was. She eventually signaled for the driver to move into a space, to the wonderful sound of British sarcastic cheers. It's good to be home, while the staff member apologized profusely for what had happened and offered me anything in the shop on the house. I went home with a tank of full petrol, a deluxe Christmas sandwich, and a good story to tell my family. That probably wasn't the welcome to the UK that Shouty expected, but it was the one she deserved. I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure there's like 1 state or 2 states, I think it's New Jersey, where it's illegal for you to like pump your own gas. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure. So on the off chance she was from there, then maybe, but you should still like, research the country that you're going into. It might not have the same laws. Forced racist rich lady to dumpster dive. Some time ago, I had a job as a runner for a bad horror movie company. Part of my job as a runner was to go to the bank to make various deposits and withdrawals for both the company and the boss. I went to the bank almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day. The bank was in a really upscale neighborhood, so it was not uncommon to see some really high-end cars in the nearby lot where I parked. The lot was not free if you were just parking to walk the area, but you could get validation if you went to certain specific businesses, like the bank a few buildings away. At this point, I had been at my job for about 3.5 years, which meant I had been to this lot easily about 1,000 times. I knew a lot of the workers in the area by name, including the lot workers. We talked a lot, and oftentimes I could get away with not getting validation, even on days I wasn't working. I was in my mid-20s and was often in shorts, flip-flops, and a merchandise shirt from my company. We didn't have uniforms, so they just gave me a ton of shirts from their movies. So I would have some kind of identifier while I was out working. Now, I should mention that I am a Hispanic with pretty dark skin. I normally wouldn't even bother mentioning that because who cares? You know who cares? Rich, entitled people. I've seen my fair share of veiled racism and typecasting over the years. Heck, even at that lot, I've been asked multiple times to park people's cars. They usually apologize and look embarrassed when I point out the guys in the polo shirts and vests with the name of the lot on them, so I usually just roll my eyes and go on about my day. Occasionally, I'll get someone rude that will snap their fingers at me, which I extremely hate, or chuck their keys at me. I'm usually a little more of a butt, but nothing major. On this day, I was in a fairly poor mood. My company was starting to do some shady stuff and was screwing over employees. A lot of people hadn't been paid in weeks, and I was on half checks. The only reason I got any money was because of the main meat of my job had me driving anywhere from 4 to 12 hours a day, and I can't do that without gas, which they reimbursed me for on top of my paycheck. So on my way to the bank, I bought a strawberry smoothie for lunch. As I knew there was no chance I was gonna make it back to the office to eat the food that I brought, I pull into the non-valet parking in the lot, chat with the attendant while I grab my ticket, and start walking towards the bank. I hear someone shouting, "Jose, hey, Jose," but obviously I ignore it, as my name is not Jose. I walk past the lady shouting when I feel something smack me in the back of the head, dropping my glasses. I pick up my glasses and turn around and see this red-in-the-face lady glaring angrily at me. I was super ticked. I looked down to see what had hit me, and of course it was her car and house keys. This woman literally threw her keys at a stranger's head. She was driving some really nice Escalade that looked like it was probably fully loaded and detailed regularly. I pick up her keys and shout, "What the frick, lady?" She shouts back, "Didn't you hear me calling you, you freaking racist slur? It's your own fault for ignoring me. I'm late for my hair appointment. Park my goddamn car." I was absolutely dumbfounded. I tried to explain to her that I didn't work there, but she was not having it. Every time I opened my mouth, she called me something even more demeaning and racist, questioning my intelligence and threatening to get me fired. She started walking away, so I decided, screw it. I hurried up, walked to the restaurant next door, and shouted, "Hey, witch!" She turned around, steaming at her ears. I said, as calmly as I could manage, "I don't work there." Then I dropped her keys in my half-full smoothie and chucked it as hard as I can into the restaurant's dumpster. The look on her face when the cup exploded in pink chunks as her keys dropped into a stanky dumpster was absolutely the best. I walked away flipping her off as she turned and ran back to the attendants. After I did all my bank business, I went back to the lot and saw her shouting at the lot security and pointing at me. The security guard, who of course I knew, asked me what happened. I told him she threw her keys at me, started shouting obscenities, and refused to take them back when I tried to explain that I didn't work there. And also that I threw them in my smoothie and chucked them in the trash next door. He was holding back his laughter when I finished. She tried to get him to call the cops on me, but he explained to her that she willingly gave me her keys and refused to take them back, telling her that she should have taken that extra second to listen to what I was trying to tell her. She then demanded that one of the workers go into the dumpster and fish the keys out. But he just pointed at a sign that said the lot takes no responsibility for lost or stolen property. He then informed her that her Escalade was blocking traffic into the lot, and that if she didn't move it in 15 minutes, he would call a tow truck to move it. She did not like that, and she let him know that through racist ranting and grandstanding. He stood there quietly the whole time and took it. When she was finally finished, he looked down at his watch and told her, "You have 7 minutes, ma'am." Wouldn't you know it, she angrily trudged off towards the dumpster. We had a good laugh about it, but he told me not to do it again. As I pulled out of the lot, I got a nice view of her in the dumpster, furiously throwing everything everywhere. I honked and waved as I passed and went about my day with a big smile on my face. The next day, one of the lot guys told me that they ended up having to tow her Escalade. I guess she couldn't find her keys. Oh well, hope the hairdresser didn't mind her smelling like garbage. I'm not sure about the legality of all of this, or if I would have been in any actual trouble if the police had been called. She just caught me on a bad day. I don't feel the least bit sorry about what I did though. I guess the moral of this story is don't be a racist trash, and also don't just give your keys to anyone like an idiot. Oh, and here's some responses to some questions. I considered doing something to her car, but I was in a really nice Beverly Hills type neighborhood. I figured the cops in the area would not at all be understanding. Plus, she seemed like the team of lawyers type of spiteful person. I'm so happy I just got a sucker punch to the back of the head, instead of some of the horror stories I read about how badly a hit with keys could have gone. She was not standing very far away when she hit me, probably a good 5 to 10 feet. I didn't call the cops mostly because I didn't think about it, and I was pretty satisfied with the outcome. I was also on the clock. Plus, I'd been pulled over in that area more than once, never for doing anything wrong, but because I fit a profile. It all seemed like a hassle, and seeing her throwing trash around was more than enough to forget about the pain in the back of my head. Right at the start when they were saying that people hand them keys, I was like, they should really put them in a drain or something, just drop them down a drain, but the smooth the idea into a dumpster is just so much better. Wow guys, look on screen right now, you see those 2 videos right there? They're pretty good. I think you should click at least one of them and watch another one.